Cebuanos Filipinos continue to thrive wherever they are all over the world. Catch a glimpse of their adventures as they explore and experience the world and share experiences with Filipinos living abroad. Join us and travel the world through their eyes with Attorney Divine Marshall Flores live from New Brunswick, Canada, and Tony Ortega live from British Columbia, Canada. This is CCTN International Pinoy Journeys.
Good morning Cebu, good morning Philippines. Welcome na usab sa atong tulumanon CCTN International Pinoy Journeys. Ako na usab si Divine Marshall Flores, live gikan diri sa New Brunswick, Canada.
Ug ako na usab si Tony Ortega, live gikan sa probinsya sa British Columbia, Canada. Maayong buntag Cebu ug maayong hapon Canada.
Yes, may adlaw din mo diha Brad Tony. I don't know kumusta ang imong lugar. Ang amo diri murag sugod nagbugnaw ang hangin.
At tinuod Attorney Divine, murag makita na nato nga nag-anam-anam na og pagawas ang atong mga winter jacket. Because the weather starts na mutugnaw na. Kunya magbugat na po doon yan gidala. So it's time nahuman na po ang summer, so mao na ni atong giingon nga magprepare na pud Attorney Divine, ambot kaha og kang maita unya pud sa atong guest unya karon unsay sitwasyon niya diha sa iya pong obserbasyon sa palibot, Attorney Divine.
Yes, so karong buntaga Brad Tony, laing Filipino ang atong mahinabi. Atong tan-awon kung kumusta ang iyang journey no sa iyang pagpuyo dinhi sa Canada.
Tinuod Attorney Divine, ko kita manggod isip mga Pilipino gawas sa Pilipinas, we have a lot of stories to tell. So ang nakanindot manggod kay most of our stories are very inspiring stories nga makahatag pod og pagtulunan for our viewers. And then ato sang mahibaw-an unsa gyud ay journey sa mga Pilipino or unsa gyud ay journey ka sa atong guest karong hapuna.
Yes, but so far Brad Tony sa atong mga nahinabi nga mga Filipinos living abroad, tanan gyud nag-struggle inigsugod no kanang dili ingon ana kadali no nga ma-stabilize ang imong sitwasyon, especially nga naa ka nagpuyo sa nasod nga di ka familiar. So basta mo kumbati lang, I think moabot jud ang time nga mahimong stable na ang imong pagpuyo unya makaginhapa ka og gamay.
So tinuod na Attorney Divine, I think not only the Filipinos, I think if you are new to a country, murag ang kanisad sigurong ubang nationality nga mungadto sa Pilipinas, I think they will also experience struggle in terms of different adjustment, the food, the weather, the culture. So we need to understand it. Pero ang kanisang atong guest karon, I know nga bata pa siya galing sa Pilipinas, maliit pa po siya galing sa Pilipinas, nag-decide po yung mga magulang niya na magpunta dito sa Canada. Pero I don't think nag-struggle pa siya kasi maliit pa siyang nagpunta dito.
Oo, baka hindi niya hindi pa niya na-experience yun or hindi pa niya natandaan kung ano yung journey ng mga parents niya at that time.
Yeah, totoo yun, Attorney Divine. Sa pagkakalam ko is nakipagsabayan agad. Wala. Pero malalaman natin ngayon, Attorney Divine, as we introduce sa guest natin ngayon. So ang guest natin ngayon isa po isang Pilipina. Pinanganak sa Pilipinas, pumunta sa Canada, batang-bata pa, pero maniwala kayo ang very, very fluent po siya mag-Tagalog. Tsaka kung tatanungin natin siguro kung bakit pa fluent ka sa Tagalog, so malalaman natin yan as she's about to start sharing her journey. So ang guest natin ngayon is no other than Maita Santiago. Hello.
Hi ma'am. Good morning for Cebu.
Hi, good morning. Mayong adlaw at mayong hapon sa atong tanan. Magandang umaga at magandang hapon. Tuwang-tuwa po ako na makasama kayong lahat ngayong araw. Maraming salamat sa pagbigay ng panahon para maikwento ko din yung naging karanasan ko.
Yes. Yeah. So, may going back sa Pilipinas, saan ka ba ipinanganak sa Pilipinas?
Sa tiga Bulacan, yung aking mga magulang, pero my dad was raised in Pasig. So that's where we lived up until nag-migrate kami to Canada in the late 70s.
So how old are you po na nagpunta ka dito sa Canada?
Six.
So pagdating ninyo dito, how was the weather?
Oh, you know what? Nung dumating kami, maganda yung panahon kasi June. So I remember, I don't remember too much, but our first home was in Burnaby, where I'm living now. And the weather was great. I think back in the day, ewan ko, bumaba pa nga ata kami sa hagdan mula sa airport, yung sa tarmac, yung mga ganun. It wasn't too much of an adjustment. I think kung meron magma-migrate to Canada from Philippines, lagi kong sinasabi, you should come in the spring or the summer, di ba? Para hindi tayo ganong magulat or ma-depress kasi pag fall and winter, lalo na sa Vancouver, it's very gray. Kaya yun, mismo na Philippines, tapos madilim pa, parang, mas maganda pag spring, summer, mas masaya.
What about the adjustment? Adjustment mo pagdating mo dito, a few days, nagland kayo dito sa Canada?
Yeah, I don't remember too much. But my mom says that when we first started school, she says my sister and I, takot daw kami sa English noon. Papasok daw kami, magugulat na lang daw siya kasi pagdating ng lunch, umuwi kami sa bahay. Pero hindi ko naman yun natatandaan gano. And I think kasi syempre yung mga bata, 6 years old ako, elementary, parang grade 2 na ako nagsimula ng pag-aaral dito. So it wasn't too difficult. Alam mo kung saan medyo nag-struggle ako with Filipino identity and like yung Canadian identity. Siguro, kasi when I was growing up, I identified really as a Canadian.
Yeah.
Yung pagtingin ko sa sarili ko, that I'm Canadian, I'm part of Canada. But there would be times, especially I guess, in high school, after high school, when you start to realize, other people in Canada don't look at me as a Canadian. They look at me as Filipino, right? But then when I'm with Filipino people, they're like, well, but you're not really Filipino, you're Canadian. So it's like, may stage na hindi ko ganong alam, kung saan ako lulugar. Especially, I remember when I went home to the Philippines when I was in my early 20s, nagbakasyon ako, kasama yung mga pinsan ko, tapos natandaan ko, sabi ko, sige, sa Canada, sabi nila, Pilipina daw ako, I'm from the Philippines, right? So I said, ito na pagkakataon, pupunta ako sa Philippines, hindi makakasama ko yung mga katulad ko, mga Filipino. Pagdating ko sa Philippines, sabi nila, naku, Canadian ka, hindi ka Filipino. I'm like, okay. So that there was a period, in my life when hindi mo, and I think until now, baka may ibang mga kabataan tayo na dito lumaki, yung tawag doon parang identity crisis, hindi mo kung saan ka lulugar. So it was interesting, but definitely like nung bata ako growing up, it was pretty good. I grew up in Vancouver, Burnaby, Surrey, the Lower Mainland. Medyo okay naman.
Pero kasi bata ka pa nandito ka na sa Canada, parang at that time hindi mo natandaan kung ano yung kultura ng Pilipino at saka yung mga pagkain natin, hindi mo nami-miss. Alam mo hindi. But growing up, ang alam ko tungkol sa Philippines ay yung experiences ko with my own family, So Filipino culture was like the food, the pancit, the adobo, the get-togethers with my cousins. Yan yung alam ko sa Philippines. But I do remember one time I was in grade 6. Yung mother ko nagbaon ng hopya.
binigyan ako ng hopya for lunch. Tapos nakita ng kaklase ko, no, na Canadian, sabi niya, parang nadidiri siya. Sabi niya, ano ba yan? Ano tong baon mo? Sabi ko, naku, ginawa ko lang yan, kako. Right? I was embarrassed to say, right, to explain what it was. And I remember when I was, in grade school, I would be embarrassed if I had rice for lunch. Kasi nung panahon na yun, hindi ganong nag-rice yung mga bata. So sabi ko, just give me sandwiches, right? But I remember my mom, every time she would have like tropical fruit from the Philippines, kasi medyo mahal dito, no? Mahal dito, mga lansones, mahal ang mangga. So
Mangga.
mangga. So kung gusto kong tikman at kaunti lang, sasabihin niya sa akin, oh, you don't want this, it's not very good. Or you don't miss this, so I'll just have it for myself because you don't know what it is anyway. Yeah. So, but it was good. Yeah, it was a good time growing up.
Pero in your house, nagtatagalog kayo?
Yeah, alam mo, so growing up, yung parents ko, they're both from Bulacan, so they would speak to us in Tagalog, but my sister and I would always answer back in English. And dumating sa point na I knew like some Tagalog, right? But every time, we would speak, yung parang, natutuwa yung mga matatanda, di ba? Like, so then we feel self-conscious, so then we don't want to speak it anymore. Yeah, so I didn't really speak Tagalog, but I could understand it. So medyo halfway na doon.
Pero May, ano po ba yung ginawa mo? Kasi as we speak, ang Tagalog mo is very fluent.
Oh, yeah. So, di ba, around college, parang may identity crisis, hindi ko alam yung tungkol sa Philippines. So I had a chance to meet some really strong women that were organizing in Vancouver. Nag-organize sila ng mga caregivers. Nagsisimula sila ng Filipino-Canadian Youth Group. Tapos sa grupo nila, I got to learn a little bit more about Filipino history, Filipino culture. That's where I met our Filipina MLA na nandito, si Mabel Elmore. Kasi she was one of those that were organizing. And I became very involved with that. And I became very interested in the situation in the Philippines. No? Kasi sabi ko, bakit nga ba libo-libo araw-araw yung lumalabas ng bansa? So sabi ko, so I made a decision to go back to the Philippines. So I moved there. I lived in the Philippines for about 9 years. And I was working with yung mga migrant workers and families. And doon ko talaga natutunan yung pagsalita ng Tagalog. Tapos nakapunta ako sa iba't ibang parts din ng Philippines, no? Kaya nakakatuwa. Kaya may gamay din akong Bisaya. Naganto ko dito sa Cebu, sa Maugani. Kaya yung konting Cebuano nakakatuwa, no? Kasi parang naiintindihan, nakakasabot. Nakakasabot ko ng gamay. Pero dugay, why ko may storya hanay. So, nalilimutan.
Pero so meaning to say, nagtrabaho ka sa Pilipinas for 9 years. Bumalik ka from Canada to Philippines.
Yes, kaya hindi ganong nasiyahan yung parents ko, no? Nung sinabi ko sa kanila na pupunta ako sa Philippines. Kasi sabi nila, Maita, lahat ng tao pumupunta dito, ikaw babalik sa Philippines. Yeah, but I felt very, I felt very passionate about learning more about the Philippines, the people, the conditions, and understanding more about why many of us, make the very difficult decision, I think, right?
Yeah.
To leave our family, extended family behind to come to Canada.
So anong na-discover mo nung bumalik ka sa Pilipinas? And then, because you want to know kung bakit yung mga Pilipino gustong umalis, anong na-discover mo nung 9 years na nagtrabaho ka doon?
Yeah, so siguro una sa lahat, I got to learn the real strength of the Filipino people. No? like like saludo talaga ako dito sa tapang at at sa galing ng mga Pilipino na pag meron silang nakitang hindi tama, talagang magsasalita sila at nagkaroon din ako ng napakalalim na respeto tungkol sa kung gaano binibigyan ng halagahan ng mga Pilipino yung kanilang pamilya. No, like it was just, so that was really amazing to see the great importance that Filipinos place on taking care of their families, not just their own family, right? Usually sa West, right? Sa Canada, it's just your own family, but really your extended family, right? Your cousins, your aunts, and then even sometimes yung basta tiga bayan mo from your hometown, right?
Yeah.
So I saw, so I learned, right? The strength of, a Filipino person to be able to, even if it meant making like a really big sacrifice, but even if it meant leaving their own family behind just so they could make sure that they were taken care of, I saw that, right, every day. So I think that was like one of the things that I learned and that I was able to get a lot of respect for. And I think as a Filipino person in Canada, learning about the history of the Philippines and about how, like throughout the years, there was always that desire for the Philippines, right, to be, to stand up and to be proud. That also really was something that was impressed upon me when I was there. Oh, and then siguro, for sure, I also saw sa kalagayan ng Philippines, yung isang katotohanan is that, for many families, para lang ma-meet nila yung araw-araw na pangangailangan, kailangan din talaga mag-abroad. No, for some, and so that so I also came to understand that sometimes it's not really a choice but a necessity. Kasi minsan may na-meet din ako mga bata na sinisisi yung mga magulang, bakit sila umalis, bakit iniwan. But I understood, because of the economy, that it was really something that they had to do.
Anong masasabi mo, May, yung mga magulang po na nagpunta sa Canada, sinasakripisyo nila yung buhay nila para lang po madala nila sa Canada. Now, nandito na po sila sa Canada, it turned out po na parang nagre-rebelde na po sila sa mga magulang nila at saka they look into different way of thinking. Ano po yung sa pananaw mo? Ano po ba yung masabi mo?
Yeah, I think that, again, really, malalim yung pagrespeto ko sa mga magulang na isa-sacrifice talaga nila yung lahat para sa anak, no? Kasi alam naman natin, di ba, na pagpunta sa Canada, minsan yung profession natin hindi kinikilala. So sometimes, as parents, they have to take on jobs, that they wouldn't have had to take, right? In the Philippines now, for example, maybe, I know people that are architects or doctors, or, just working maybe as assistants or as retail clerks. So, I understand that they're sacrificing a lot. But at the same time, nakikita ko din kung saan yung parang point of view din ng mga bata, no? Na maybe for themselves, they feel like they're also been uprooted, maybe from their barkada or from their friends kung medyo may edad sila. So I think it's unfortunate. And mas nakakalungkot yung mga sitwasyon where halimbawa yung tatay lang or yung nanay lang ang mauuna. Tapos may iwan yung mga bata, lalaki sila, tapos pag nagsama, parang hindi na sila magkakilala. So, so nakakalungkot talaga yun. So I think, maybe one of the things that, that would be good also as a community of Filipinos overseas, I think it would help kung pinag-uusapan natin yung tinatawag nating systemic na reasons, no, kung bakit kailangan mag-abroad yung magulang, yung pamilya. And I think in that way, mas maintindihan ng mga bata ng mga anak na hindi naman talaga, sa palagay ko hindi na naman tama na sisihin yung magulang nila. So maybe if they understood that, because of society or because of the economy, that they have to make these, these choices, right? And at the end of the day, it's also for their future. It's for that.
Pamilya pa rin.
Pamilya pa din at, para din sa kinabukasan nila. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that I learned when it comes to yung mga kabataan na yung binanggit mo kanina, nagre-rebelde or hindi nasisihan, sinisisi yung magulang. Nakakatulong if we're able to talk to them and explain, no? Yung mas malalim na dahilan kung bakit sila napilitan mga ibang bayan. Yeah, so
galing ka sa Pilipinas, pagbalik mo dito, ano po yung na-open sa mata mo? What made you realize galing ka sa Pilipinas? Yung bumalik ka dito sa Canada, ano pong mga lessons na nakuha mo doon sa Pilipinas?
Lessons, yeah. Siguro, I think, alam mo, Tony, I think ito totoo. Yung isang natutunan ko sa Philippines ay maging yeah, it's a bit of a stereotype, I guess, but it's yung pagiging masaya ng mga Pilipino, di ba? Nahihirapan. Siguro hindi lang siguro yung maging masaya dahil sa mga kaibigan at pamilya na nakapaligid. I think that's what I learned when I came back is, to really value my family, my relationships with my family, and my relationships with my friends. Because really, sila yung parang, social support, right? Network natin. I think that's one of the things I learned. And then the other one that I learned was yung importance also of or the great strength, right, of the Filipino people, throughout history. That was another thing that I learned. And then also coming back here to Vancouver was seeing the role that organizations can play. In terms of helping bawat isa sa mga kababayan natin. Because I think that, really when we're united, when we're working together, like di ba dito alam ko sa lugar natin, no, madami mga samahan na Pilipino. So I think that's great because then we're able to, provide that support, that support to each other. That's so important, lalo na when, for many, right? When they're coming to a new place like Canada.
Okay. So may nagpunta. What about your yung in-class experience po? Did you encounter discrimination or racism? Naka-encounter ka ba?
Siguro wala naman akong matandaan na matingkad na experience with racism. I think yung experience ko is with yung tinatawag nating systemic na racism. Yeah, yung hindi mo lang tada nakikita, no? But maybe, for example, right, in Canada and BC, we only have one person in elected office. Right? So I think that's, there's elements, right, of systemic discrimination and racism, the barriers that they place sa ating mga Filipino, mga immigrants, mga people of color, kung bakit, we don't have that much representation in elected office or in higher positions, in different professions. Yeah, siguro it's more like that, no, for me.
So, may yung mo, kasi I know na medyo aktibo ka ngayon in running in the public office. Ano po ba yung experience mo at saka ano po ba yung natapos mo?
Yeah, so ang natapos ko ay nag-aaral ako sa Simon Fraser University dito sa Burnaby. Ang inaral ko is political science and sociology. And after I graduated, I worked for several years with community organizations as an organizer on community research projects. We organized caregivers, women, youth. Tapos nung pumunta nga ako sa Philippines, no, I continued that work with migrant worker and family NGO organization. I did that for like 9 years, and then when I came back to Canada, I began working full time as a constituency assistant or frontline community service provider sa office ng ating MLA na si Mabel Elmore, na kung saan araw-araw nagbibigay ako ng support and tulong sa mga tiga dito, hindi lang Pilipino, no, but kung iba't ibang lahi na may iba't ibang klaseng problema, whether they're renters, workers, seniors, students. So really I've spent my whole life advocating, right, for for everyday folks about different types of issues they face. And I've also served on a city hall committee here in Burnaby, the social issues committee, and a subcommittee on childcare. So I think nakita ko over the years yung mga issues na important sa mamamayan ng Burnaby, at alam ko din kung paano mag-build yung mga bridges para para masigurado na makuha nila yung tulong nila, or how to connect them to resources. And I guess most of all, I've also seen the role that good government and good policies can play in terms of improving people's lives. So I'd like to help, to help make sure that everybody in Burnaby ay, na nakakakuha ng tulong na kailangan nila.
Mm-hmm. So, meaning to say, yung experience mo, no? O walang maka-question na you are really qualified for that position kasi yung work experience mo, grabe talaga. But is this your first time na nag-join sa politics?
Yeah, actually, it's my second time. So ngayon, I'm the first Filipino running for city council in Burnaby. In 1993, I ran for city council in Vancouver when I was still an SFU student. Yeah, and nung panahon na yun, I was the first Filipino to run for any elected office in British Columbia. So nandun lagi, no, yung kagustuhan ko na magkaroon tayo ng representation, at nandun lagi yung paniwala ko na dapat ang gobyerno ay sumasalamin sa mamayan na kanyang pinaglilingkuran.
Pero alam ko, Brad Tony, if you're a politician, grabe ang sakripisyo mo kasi 24/7 ang services na ibibigay mo talaga sa mga tao. And sometimes masacrifice mo pa yung time mo for your family kasi ma-prioritize mo talaga yung trabaho mo, yung pagka-public servant mo. So, ano sa tingin mo, kaya mo bang parang ganun, parang you have more time sa mga tao kaysa pamilya sometimes?
Yeah, mahirap na decision nga, no, na tumakbo dahil doon. And I think that's one of the reasons kung bakit konti lang din talaga yung mga mothers, lalo na yung mga women, no, na tumatakbo. But now, I think, my family, my kids are a little bit older. They're like 11 and 14. So medyo independent na sila. But yeah, for sure, like a few years ago, I think it would have been very, very difficult. But no, yeah, it's a great sacrifice. So I'm grateful to my kids and to my husband for stepping forward to do the dishes, make the dinner, pick up the kids. Yeah. But alam mo, sa city council dito sa amin sa Burnaby, walo yung councilors, wala isa sa kanila is a mother, right? There's no mothers on council. There's 6 men, only 2 women. Tapos yung 6 sa kanila or 5 sa kanila mga puti, no? Pero yung city namin na Burnaby, it's very diverse, right? Maybe more than 60% are yung people of color or yung immigrants.
Talaga?
Yeah, so it doesn't reflect, right? City council doesn't reflect, the people of Burnaby. So hopefully that's something that will change this election.
Pero kumusta naman ang support na nakukuha nyo sa mga Filipino community at saka sa mga local dyan?
Oh, maganda. Nakakasaya yung support, lalo na mula sa ating mga kababayan. Kitang-kita, no, yung excitement at yung kagustuhan na sana ito na yung panahon na magkakaroon tayo ng kinatawan mismo sa City Hall. Tapos yung party na kung saan kabilang ako is the Burnaby Citizens Association. So it's the most established party in our city. We were established in 1955. We've had majority on city council for the last few decades. Burnaby ay isa sa pinakamagandang lugar sa BC, sa Canada. We have we have a very healthy budget. We have well-run city services, beautiful parks, and really dahil yon sa leadership ng partido ko, no, ng Burnaby Citizens Association. So it's an excellent party. We're the party that built Burnaby, but for sure, this is going to be the toughest election for our party. And dito sa Canada, parang maliit lang yung bumoboto sa city election. So talaga bawat vote makes a big difference. So so nananawagan kami sa lahat ng ating mga supporters, lalo na sa mga Pilipino, na talagang kailangan lumabas tayo at mag-vote, no? Para magkaroon tayo ng boses dito sa pag-decide kung ano yung magiging itsura ng Burnaby.
Sa palagay mo, may ano ba ang nakikita mo na medyo weakness po ng Filipino community? Kasi not only in Burnaby, it also happened in Richmond, it happens in Vancouver, na how we Filipinos participate during the election. So bihira lang sa atin ang lumalabas. Kaya magkakaroon sana tayo ng representation kasi we have potential. But the problem is, Filipinos are not really interested in going out and vote. Bakit kaya?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think maybe, sa isang banda, hindi rin natin masisisi yung ibang kababayan natin, no, na nagadto, pumunta dito para mag-work, right?
Yeah.
Magtrabaho. So minsan, maybe doon sa adjustment, because they're so focused on working, baka hindi nila, I don't know, right? Baka hindi pa nila nabibigyan ng pansin or time yung tungkol sa elections, no? Or maybe they don't see that they're part of Canadian society at sa ganon ay dapat maging involved at tungkulin nila bilang citizen, no, na mag-vote. So I think, there's a lot that we can still do in terms of yung tawag doon parang civic education, no, or yung pag-raise ng political awareness nila na kailangan talaga bigyan nila ng panahon na sa araw ng botohan ay lumabas sila at mag-vote. Yun, tulad na sinabi ko kanina, in general, even yung mga tiga dito, konti lang din talaga yung nagbo-vote, no? I think in Burnaby, it's only 3 out of 10 people, maybe even less will vote. But yeah, so it's very low. But I think for Filipinos, it's really important, Tony, Divina, that we realize, that we have a voice. It's important that we get involved, and our opinion and our vote matters, and it will count.
Yeah, true. So if in case manalo po kayo this October 15, right, na election, ano pong pwede mong unang gawin para sa mga immigrants?
Yeah, so the party that I'm running with, I'm so proud. I made the decision to run with them kasi talaga I share their principles, their vision, and we have a 5-point plan, to make sure that Burnaby continues to be, isang magandang lugar na kung saan pwede tayong tumira at mabuhay. So yung unang point is tungkol sa housing crisis, no? Tulad ng ibang mga cities sa Canada, we have a housing crisis in Burnaby. So we're going to work to make sure that there's affordable housing. Yung abot kayang pabahay at yung may tiyak na tirahan para sa mga umuupa. Para yung tipong umuupa ka, tapos hindi ka nag-aalangan na baka next month or next year paalisin ka. So kailangan gumawa tayo ng mga yung purpose-built rentals na pang-rent talaga. At kailangan din gumawa tayo ng mga rentals na affordable, no? Kasi hindi rin naman maganda yung rental pero mahal naman, no? So hindi rin makakatulong yun. Yung pangalawang point ng aming plan ay yung pagbigay ng pansin para ma-ensure na yung mga basic services na binibigay ng city ay patuloy na nandyan. No? So mula sa pag-pick up ng garbage natin, pag-ensure na yung sidewalks natin ay maayos, yung facilities ay may programs. So, we're going to make sure that that continues. And our party has a really strong record, right, of providing the services that people can count on. Burnaby is one of the most well-run cities across the country. So we're so proud of that, and we'll make sure that continues. Yung third point na itatakal natin ay yung tungkol sa climate change and reconciliation. So, we want to make sure that people are able to cope and deal with yung, kasi ngayon, halimbawa, di ba, like may sobrang init, no? Tapos minsan naman, sobrang lamig. So I think cities can do something about that, no? When we're thinking about how we design cities, where our parks are, making transit easier to take. And the fourth item that we're going to do is make sure Burnaby is a vibrant and inclusive city, where everybody, can continue to call it their home, and to make sure that as it grows, that nobody's really left behind. Tapos yung panglimang point ng aming plano is to make sure that we have a strong local economy, that prioritizes good jobs. So for those that want to live and work here, that they can do that. Yeah.
Okay. So, sa pamilya nyo, ikaw lang po ang nag-join sa politics, or nasa dugo nyo talaga yan na?
Yeah. So siguro I think politics was also something that was always there growing up. Alam mo, as new immigrants, we didn't have much. But what we did have, or what I had, were like yung stories ng mga magulang ko, tungkol sa family namin. So halimbawa yung dad ko, before we moved to Canada, he was a counselor in Pasig.
By blood.
Yeah, we still have the yung nilalagay sa mesa na mabigat na may pangalan niya. Yeah, so he was in Pasig. Tapos yung grandfather ko sa mother's side ko sa Marilao, he was the mayor for several terms. And that was like during 1940s, 1950s. Tapos yung uncle ko, my mom's brother, was the mayor. My cousin was the vice mayor. Yeah, so it's a political family for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Nasa dugo talaga yan, Brad Tony, no? Kasi yung na-interview natin, yung mga kumandidato, meron talaga sa family. Yeah, nasa politics. Oo.
Yeah.
Akala ko, Attorney Divine, yung politics mag-involve ka is inborn talaga.
Growing up, you see the difference that that people in elected office can make, and the good that they can do pag nasa tamang lugar yung kanilang puso, no?
Tama. So, yung husband mo, local ba or Filipino din?
Yeah, he's Filipino also, yeah.
Filipino. So at least maintindihan. Iba kasi pag, di ba, Brad Tony, yung nakaintindi sa culture natin, kasi may iba tayong ugali. Yes. Siguro kahit dito ka lumaki sa Canada, may ugaling Pinoy ka pa rin kasi sa bahay yung parents mo, di ba?
Oo. Yeah, that's actually what I appreciate about my husband, no, is he also has that respect for elders, minsan mas gusto nga siya ng magulang ko, no, kaysa sa akin. Kasi magaling siya mag-alaga. So yeah. So it's good. It's important.
May, sa palagay mo, May, is ano po ba? Hindi ba nagiging barrier ng isang Pilipino if he or she decides to run in public office here in Canada, kahit wala po siyang napakalaki, napakataas na Canadian credentials?
No, I don't think that's a barrier at all. No, I think when people run for elected office, like halimbawa ko, yung tinitingnan ko sa isang kandidato ay kung ano yung prinsipyo niya.
Yeah.
Ano
Tama.
ba yung
Nagtatanong lang po ako, May, kung bakit. Kasi malay mo, Attorney Divine will also be running.
Baka rin tatakbo ka, di ba?
Yeah,
Malay mo
walang,
si Attorney Divine, isa din yan sa political figure natin sa New Brunswick.
Di ko kaya yan.
attorney. Yan din yung maganda siguro sa Canada, no? Di ba? That it's very democratic. And then when it comes to elected office, the important thing is that the candidate reflects the people that they serve. Right?
Yeah.
So yan yung unang tinitingnan ko. Tapos ano ba yung principles nila? What do they stand for? I think that's more important to me than anumang credential, no?
So, I think dahil sa background ng family mo, Mamay, so even if you are in the Philippines, I think parang ganun pa rin yung direction mo sa politics pa rin, no? Kasi yung papa mo, city councilor ng Pasig, ang laki ng Pasig, yung mga ibang member ng pamilya, mayor for how many terms. So parang ganun pa rin yung direction nyo pag nasa Pilipinas pa kayo.
Sa Tagalog pa is nananalaytay talaga ang dugo mo bilang isang politiko.
Yeah, tama. Pero nung nagtrabaho ka sa Philippines, Mai, you were still single at the time?
Yeah.
So
so when we were when it was time to have a family, to start a family, kaya sabi ko nga dati, no, na parang minsan feeling ko I'm also like an immigrant na hindi iba sa mga pumupunta dito with their own families. Kasi yun, naranasan ko din mismo, no, na kung sa Philippines mahirap magpalaki, no, ng bata, ng family natin. So, we made the decision to come back to Canada, also because my own family was still here. And, that support, diba? Support ng nanay ko, ng magulang mo, was really important.
And I think yung advantage din dito is free yung education para sa mga bata kung sa public school ka.
Yeah. Talagang para sa, I really understand, right, na it's really for the children, right? For the kinabukasan nila, and it's so much better. And if you do come abroad to Canada, I encourage everybody, dito kayo pumunta sa Burnaby. Isa sa pinakamagandang lugar to, right? Maraming parks, pwede mong lakaran, hindi pa ganong crowded.
Pero may wag lang silang magpunta ng winter, di ba?
Dapat come in the summer or spring para hinay-hinay.
Slowly maka-adjust.
Maugan.
So may kunyari po ba? Kasi may anak ka. Ilan bang anak mo? Dalawa? Isa?
Dalawa. Actually, yung anak ko na panganay, naging class president, student council president ng school.
Nag-practice na.
Yeah. Sabi ko nga sa kanya, at least ikaw nanalo ka sa isang eleksyon, ako hindi pa. Kasi di ba, noong 93, hindi ako nanalo. Hindi naman ako naging student council.
Pero ready ka ba na mag-move out po siya after 18 years old?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yan. Naranasan. Pagpalaki ng bata, right? It's a challenge also to raise your children, to have that Filipino culture and Filipino values, right? Sila mga parang second generation na sila. Yeah.
Tama. Okay. So, nagtrabaho po kayo talaga sa kasi community organizer ka. Nung nasa Canada po kayo, anong nakita mong struggle sa mga immigrants dyan, especially sa mga Pinoy?
Yeah, siguro kasi yung ino-organize namin, we're dalawa talaga. Yung isa yung caregivers, tapos yung isa yung youth, yung kabataan. Yung sa caregivers, yung matinding struggle was yung pagkawalay nila sa pamilya nila. Kasi nung panahon na yun, right, hindi mo pwedeng isama yung mga anak mo sabang nag-aalaga sila ng anak ng iba. walang nag-aalaga or hindi nila kasama yung kanilang sariling anak.
Yeah.
So that was the most painful, and and that was also what really inspired and drove me to try to make changes so that pag may mga migrants na pupunta dito hanggang ngayon, paniwala ko they should come as permanent residents.
Yeah.
Diba? Kasi kung kailangan naman talaga sila, kailangan yung labor nila, yung work nila. So Canada should let them come as permanent residents already.
Oo. Pero yung sa mga caregivers before, after 2 years, after 3 years, nakukuha naman yung pamilya nila, di ba?
Yung iba, mabilis yung 2 years. Pero karaniwan, yung mga nakakilala natin, and I think for the most part, halimbawa, hindi Canada yung unang bagsak nila eh. They come from Hong Kong, they come from another country.
Usually Hong Kong.
Tapos yung processing, mabagal. So it was common to see like 4 years, 5 years. Maiksi pa nga yun eh. Diba? 6, 7 years. So yeah, it was a long time. And then when they leave their family, sometimes they have to leave their children behind when they're in their really formative years, right? Diba? 2, 3, 4, yung mga edad na kung saan kailangan mo talaga yung aluga.
Oo.
Walang pwedeng pumalit doon. Kahit inaalagaan ng tatay, kahit inaalagaan ng lolo, lola. It has a deep impact on the child. And then finally, when they're reunited, it's, I saw, right, when they're reunited here with the caregivers, it's like they're strangers, right?
Oh my. Yun yung masakit para sa ina, no? Yung hindi ka kilala ng anak mo.
Yeah, it's very hard. Yeah. Tapos, especially nung panahon na yun, 90s, wala pa yung mga FaceTime, wala yung Zoom.
Internet.
Internet. Yeah. Tapos kahit ngayon, may internet, it's still different, diba? Like, mother ako, I can't imagine being away from my kids even one night.
True.
Years, it's heartbreaking, and I think it has an effect on our community as a whole, right? Kasi yung mga caregivers din, halimbawa, na kung saan maraming bilang sa ating Pilipino na nandito ngayon, right? They come as caregivers, as migrants. So for so many years, they're not able to practice or to upgrade. So nadi-de-skill sila, right? So it's difficult.
Nare-realize mo ba, May, na yung mga magulang na nagpunta dito, sinasakripisyo ng buhay na dinala nila yung mga bata dito. Dito na po nagsisimula ang buhay ng mga bata. Maituring ba natin na sacrificing ourselves is a gift na ginawa natin para sa mga bata natin?
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it, Tony. Yeah, it's a gift. It's a real sacrifice. And I also understand it's also a burden, also for our children, for their children, to have to carry that. But yeah, that's the reality because of how the Philippines is, the economy, and also how Canada is, right? Imbis na, because Canada also needs their labor, but imbis na papasukin sila as permanent residents na magkasama yung buong pamilya, imbis na kilalanin or gawing mas madali yung pag-recognize na ng credentials nila, they make it difficult. So yeah, it's not a good situation all around, and I think there's still lots and lots of work that still needs to be done, in terms of advocating for the interests of our community, with respect to immigration policies.
Pero sana yung nakikinig natin, Brad Tony, ng mga anak, no? Na yung mga magulang nila is OFW sa Hong Kong, yung iba sa Saudi Arabia, yung iba sa Canada. Sana maisip nila na grabe yung sakripisyo na ginawa ng parents nila para lang sa kanilang kinabukasan. Ang problema sometimes, yung bata, parang feeling nila is napabayaan sila ng magulang nila. Kasi nag-abroad yung mama. Parang ganon. So, sana yung mga anak na nakikinig ba, maintindihan nila na grabe ang sakripisyo ng ginawa ng kanilang ina. Imagine nag-aruga ka ng ibang bata tapos yung anak mo hindi mo na alagaan. Sana maintindihan nila na it's for them. It's for their future.
Yeah. I think that's hopefully tumimo no yung ganong pagtingin din sa ating mga kabataan, lalo na yung mga naiwan. But so I think also that's where the importance of them knowing the deeper reason for why parents had to leave, na hindi naman sino ba naman magulang magpapasya ng kusa na iwanan yung anak nila. So I think maybe kung yung mga kabataan maintindihan din nila yung malalim na dahilan, yun yung tinatawag natin na systemic na reason kung bakit sila na umalis at kung bakit hindi naman talaga choice ng magulang, parang naparsa lang din sila. Yeah.
Pero sa Canada, Attorney Divine, iba ang culture din sa Canada comparing to Hong Kong, to Dubai. Iba dito kasi po, socialized country tayo. Iba din ang exposure natin dito. Pero kaya nga, sa to say, may mga nangyayari pa rin na mga hindi maganda po sa between the relationship of the parents and the daughters and sons.
Tama.
Banggitin ko lang din nung 90s nung nag-advocate tayo for caregivers na kasi nung panahon na yon hindi pa pwedeng isama yung pamilya, di ba, ng caregivers. Pero actually ngayon, nagkaroon ng pagbago recently sa Canada na yung mga caregivers na pupunta dito, pwede na nila ngayon isama yung pamilya at nagkakaroon na sila ng tinatawag na conditional PR.
Okay.
So actually yung assessment ng pagka-PR nila, yung evaluation, kung papasa sila sa PR ay nangyayari na sa simula. Bago nila start yung 2 years. Kaya pagdating dito, the only thing that they need to complete before they become PR is yung 24 months of caregiving work.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a good thing, right? Because they're closer to being PR, they can come with their children. But yung point ko is this happened because of the advocacy and of the struggles of Filipino organizations over the years, right? Pinaglaban talaga ito ng ating mga migrante, ng groups like Migrante BC, Migrante Canada. So this happened because Filipinos spoke up. And we worked with other migrant groups na ibang lahi, like Sama-Sama. We lobbied government. And so that's how we were able to get these changes, right? So that's also a lesson, right, that I learned over the years. Yung strength ng tinatawag nating sama-samang pagkilos. It has a big effect when you want government to enact, policies, right? Good policies, in the interest of caregivers, of migrants, or anumang grupo. Yeah. So that's good news.
Yeah, tama. Ang ganda naman yan, no? Pero sa tingin mo, yung mga nag-struggle na mga caregiver sa simula, at tapos nadala nila yung pamilya, tapos may adjustment. But later on, naging okay naman, right?
Yeah, of course. There's there's also, really positive stories, right? And positive experiences of those that came before. Yeah. So it's, so it's good. Sabi ko nga, when I think about the situation of our community of caregivers, there are always stories of hope, right? Stories that are positive, but at the same time, alongside yung story ng mga naghirap or nahihirapan. Yeah, so I think yung mga nag-succeed and that have really good outcomes, it's despite of the challenges, right, that were before them. Yeah, but for sure, so it's so good to see, right, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Sa palagay mo, may bakit po pa sa lahat po ng programa na ino-offer po ng Immigration Canada, bakit ang caregivers or magiging nanay ang pinakamadaling entry para sa Pilipino?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think baka may kaugnayan din yun sa Philippines. Because I think when I was in the Philippines, no, nakita ko din kung gaano inaatun yung, there's like lots of schools or lots of agencies na parang ganun yung, diba? Parang ganun yung,
Ino-offer nila.
yeah, ganun yung ino-offer. Yeah. So yeah, it's true. But you know what? Sa history ng Canada, sa simula nung parang 1800s or something like that, it was actually women from Ireland. Yung mga white women from Europe that came to Canada as caregivers. Sa kasaysayan ng Canada, lagi natin kailangan ng caregivers. So simula nung mga puti yung pumupunta dito, agad-agad they were like, I think they were citizens even, right? And then over the years, there was a period when it was Caribbean women. And then I think Filipinos started coming in the 80s, siguro. Kung saan, yan na yung bulk. Yan na yung bulk na pumupunta. And I think also it's because the immigration system in Canada, yung other paths for them to become PR, it's just much harder for a lot of Filipinos to get, Like sometimes you need a lot of money. Or sometimes, there's just more barriers. Yeah.
Pero I think nakilala din naman nila yung the way yung magtrabaho ang mga Pinoy as caregiver. No, 'di ba? Kaya hindi naman siguro sila mag-hire ng mga Pinoy caregivers kung hindi nila nakikita yung magandang performance sa mga Pinoy talaga.
Yeah. I think walang question na iba yung pagbigay ng kalinga ng mga caregivers.
Attorney Divine, sabi po na when I was attending po ng isang workshop, kailangan din nating maintindihan bakit sabi na caregivers kasi daw may nakikita daw something in us na hindi nila nakikita sa iba.
Sa iba.
Hindi daw nila I think yung pag-aaraw, yung ano natin po siguro, yung empathy natin to handle or to take care with other individuals siguro. Kasi pag sabihin mo, even Mayor Pranger Maita, when I was in Agassi during the courtesy call with Mayor Mike Rama, sabi niya saludong siya sa Pilipino. Kasi yung pag-aalaga daw na na-encounter po niya. So I think the relative of Mayor Sylvia Pranger, sabi niya, no, wala akong hindi na ako makahanap ng iba kagaya sa ginawa
ng
mga Pilipino.
Yeah. Like I think hindi matatawad yung or you can't deny the really big contributions that Filipinos have made to Canadian society, right? Especially during the pandemic, no? Tayo yung nasa front line, whether that's in healthcare, caregiving, long-term care homes, retail, yung mga Pilipino talaga, nandyan tayo at tayo yung dahilan kung bakit, patuloy na umuunlad, really, no? Yung Canadian society. And I think yan, dapat kilalanin yan, no?
Yeah.
Ng Canada, ng ating elected officials, and dapat sana magsimula yan sa pagkaroon din natin ng boses sa city hall, sa legislature, sa parliament.
Oo. Pero sana ma-realize din yan ng mga botante sa Canada, no, kung paano maging public servant ang mga Pinoy. Kasi alam ko, aside from you, may iba pang mga Filipino na tumakbo din as city councilor. So sana ma-realize din nila kung gaano kagaling na maging public servant ang isang Filipino.
Yes. And I think we're getting there, no? I think this is the year we just finished yung very successful effort ni Tony with the enthronement ng shrine ng Santo Niño sa Cebu. I think that's unprecedented, really, how the Cebuano Society of BC was able to come together, with the leadership of Tony to do that. I think Canadian society, other people here are taking notice, and I think even our own kababayan, right? It gives us great pride. We see things like this, so I think,
Tama.
we're getting there. Yeah.
Parang nag-unite yung mga Filipino, no?
Yeah.
Dahil sa Santo Niño Shrine.
Oh, it was good, right? I'm telling you, I've lived here since the 70s. I haven't seen anything like that before. Like the real unity, the strength, and then to be able to come together and build something concrete.
Yeah.
Right? That all of us, not just the Filipino community, but everybody, right? In BC, even, in the States, we all benefit from the blessings ng pagdala dito ng Santo Niño. So I think it's, it's excellent and it gives us great pride.
True. Mm-mm. Yes, Breton?
No, I'd like to to make a comment to what Maita said. It's actually the project is is an initiative of Father Dennis. So what happened to
Yes. Yes.
tumulong tayo para po ma-realize, and it cannot be hindi natin din maisabi na hindi to gawa to ng Cebuano, because this is a concerted efforts to ng Filipino community, lahat po. It only happened po na kasama tayo sa driving force doon.
Mm-mm.
Yes, no, that's true, Tony. I was there in sa different events in the community, and you can really see, right? Hindi lang mga Cebuano, hindi lang yung mga tiga-region na to or region na yan, pero talagang nagkaisa. And I'm so grateful with through the leadership of Father Dennis, and for making all of this happen. And so I'm so proud that that our community is where we're at, and it makes me hopeful para sa ating kabataan at para sa ating kinabukasan.
Yeah.
Namangha lang po ako, Attorney Divine, nakita. Akala ko hindi sumipot. Nakita ko si Mike, hey Tony! After may event pa siya, bigla a few hours nawala. Kasi busy din siya. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. So, kasi wala na tayong time, yung parting message mo para sa mga nakikinig natin, at saka especially those Filipinos who are planning to migrate abroad. What is your message for them?
Yeah, so siguro yung message ko ay, syempre una sa lahat, patuloy yung pagkapit natin sa ating faith. I think when we're going, abroad to a new place, our faith is something that will really help ground us. And then also, to also continue believing, in the strength of our family. And siguro my practical advice is kung saan man kayo mapadpad dito sa Canada, ang una niyong dapat hanapin ay yung mga Pilipino. Because that's our community, and you can't go wrong or you won't be lost. Hindi kayo pababayaan, alam ko yan. At sa bilang ng Pilipino ngayon, tiyak saan sulok ka man makapadpad, New Brunswick, Vancouver, or sa gitna man, I'm sure may strong Filipino community dyan ready to take you in and embrace you as you start your new life here in Canada. I think together, we can overcome and we can achieve a lot of things. And I'm very optimistic na halimbawa sa dadating na eleksyon, madaming ang Pilipino tumatakbo. I think ito na yung panahon, Panahon na Pinoy.
Yeah.
Po.
So anong message mo naman sa mga botante, most especially sa mga Filipino community natin dyan?
Yeah, so sa ating mga kababayan, nananawagan ako ng suporta ninyo. Hopefully this election, we all come together, we all come out to vote. And I think sa ating pag-come out and vote, we'll be able to together achieve something historic. And that's the election of the first Filipino to City Council in Burnaby, and hopefully also in Vancouver and in Surrey. So sama-sama, I'm sure marami tayong magawa. So please, come out and vote. It's very easy. Walang mahabang pila usually. So I'll just take a minute, make a plan, get out and vote October 15th. Hopefully for myself, Maida Santiago here in Burnaby and others in other parts of the Lower Mainland. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you kaayo Maita sa time mo. I know you're busy. Salamat sa pag-share mo ng journey dito sa CCTN.
Yeah, thank you so much. Maraming salamat po.
Okay. Brad Tony, your parting message?
Ang kumpanya man unta ko niya. Dili.
Go ahead.
No, Attorney Divine kanang it's very inspiring na po yung ginawa natin, guest natin. Sana po yung mga nanonood ngayon, Burnaby, Vancouver, kasi we also have from Vancouver, we also have from North Van, Maita Santiago for Burnaby, and also Lailani Tumaning from North Van, Lina Vargas for Vancouver, and Ramon Bandong for Surrey.
Yeah.
And Narima de la Cruz, Narima de la Cruz is also from Surrey. So, maba sila October 15 May, come out and vote, at saka sa nanonood ngayon is tangkilikin na natin yung sarili natin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's time to mainstream kasi akala nila is wala tayong boses. Napipil ko kasi yun. Napipil ko talaga we need a representation kahit saan tayo magpunta. So thank you for...
Kasi pag immigrant, Brad Tony, yung binoto mo, may representation ka. Tapos alam nila talaga kung ano yung need sa mga immigrants, 'di ba? So may bosses ka doon sa sa City Council.
Aside from that, Attorney Divine, alam kasi natin na mayroon tayong ibubuga. Mayroon pong ibubuga po ang Pilipino. So it's a high time po na you need to go there, na kailangan ka sa serbisyo. Kasi sabi ni Mike Ramat when he visited here, hindi mo naman daw kailangan graduate ka na, sabi din ni Melbourne, na hindi mo kailangan na may Harvard certificate ka because public service is coming from your heart.
Your heart. Tama. Oo.
So with
the experience of the Filipinos ngayon na tumatakbo like Maita, makikita mo talaga na yung quality sa service na pwedeng maibigay nila pag nasa City Council na. Sana let's just hope and pray na manalo yung mga Filipino na tatakbo this coming October 15. So wala man tayong oras ning atong tulumanan. I just hope nga yung mga televiewers na nakikinig sa programa natin ngayon, they get inspired sa journey na sinishare ni Maita Santiago, and let's just hope and pray din na mananalo siya this coming election sa October 15. So wala man tayong oras, ato na na-invite ang atong mga kaigsuonan next week sa dinhilang sa inyong paboritong tulumanon, CCTN International Pinoy Journeys. Have a nice day everyone. God bless.
Bye-bye.